Get ready for a magic flippin' cowboy game. This is our review of Trickdraw.
Trickdraw is a tableau building card game set in a fantasy western world, and I really liked the artwork and thought that Magic Cowboys was really fun.
I love the fantasy western theme. However, the mechanics weren't that interesting to make me want to keep playing it. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. Each player starts the game with 2 cards, and then the game is played for an undetermined amount of turns.
On each player's turn, they will draw a card and play a card, or activate face-up cards in any order.
Players may abstain from playing or activating cards and instead draw 2 more cards to end their turn.
Cards can either be played face down and be worth 1 point, or played face up to be used for their ability.
Each card will either have an on-reveal, once per turn, or ongoing ability that can be used.
Players continue taking turns until one player has 10 points in front of them.
Then an endgame showdown begins, and each player takes 1 more turn, and any player with a tied score at the end of the showdown is eliminated.
The surviving player with the most points wins.
There is also an instant win if a player has 2 of the 3 key, treasure, or temple cards played face up. We were given a copy of Trickdraw from the publisher so that we could do this review video.
If you'd like to find out more information or buy a copy of the game, check out the links in the description below.
I was really excited about this game, mainly because of the box art and the theme. Really excited for that fantasy western theme. I like those 2 elements coming together. And the artwork and the theme do hit all those good marks as far as really delivering on the fantasy western theme. However, the mechanics of the game that are paired with that theme aren't super exciting. It's a tableau builder, and you're taking your cards, and you can either play it face down to have 1 point, or face up to use its ability, and then when you get 10 points, then you start the endgame showdown thing. But for the most part, it gets kind of repetitive as far as what the actions can do, and you're playing a card, trying to get your cards to flip over, try to get an opponent's cards to flip over to get rid of their abilities, but it does get really repetitive, especially the more players that are playing, then it really does feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again.
I will give it points on the whole creativity of the theming, like they're mashing together the Western and fantasy, kind of like cowboys and aliens or ninjas and pirates or things like that. So I think that's what really drew me. But the gameplay, it's easy to learn, it's quick, you're doing all this. I will say at first glance, I thought it was a trick-taking game too, that, trick draw. So I was like, oh. And at the time I wasn't as warmed up to trick-taking games. So I was like, good artwork and everything, but is this a trick-taking game?
See, I had the opposite of that, where it's like, oh, it's a trick-taking game. And then when Lee was teaching it, I was like, it's not a trick-taking game.
Yeah, I would say when I was teaching it, when I was learning it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like magic. Like, oh, you play a card, tap it face down, you flip it over. Those types of battle card games or something. That's what it reminded me of. And then especially with the artwork, I don't know if you ever watched or played Yu-Gi-Oh, but it gave me those vibes, but not as in depth.
I do agree that it is very easy to learn, except for the endgame showdown, which I'll get to in a second. But for the most part, you can teach it relatively simple, because each player starts off with 2 cards. On your turn, you're going to draw a card, and then you can either play a card and then use your abilities of your face-up cards, or you can skip that and just draw 2 more cards and keep building up your hand until you have a really good hand that you can then maybe chain or use cards to discard when you want to use certain abilities, things like that. When you get to the endgame showdown, it's like, okay, when one player gets 10 points, they don't win. They don't win. You start the endgame showdown. Every player will get 1 more turn, except for the player who started the endgame showdown. They just get 2 extra cards. They don't go again. And then the other players go, and they try to do different things to rack up their score, and also to try to get the other players to have a tied score. Because if you have a tied score with any player at the end of the endgame showdown, then you're eliminated. Any players left standing, then the highest score wins. It's very convoluted. It's not just get 10 points, game ends, you win, good job. It's get to 10 points, end game starts, and then you have to do this whole thing. It's almost teach the game how to play and say, when we get to 10 points, I'll explain what we're going to do at that point. I do like the concept that when you get to the end game showdown, players with 10 or 12 or 15 points don't automatically win, because if they tie with someone, they're eliminated. So someone who has fewer points could still end up winning. I do like that. I just think it's got there a little bit convoluted. Plus, you throw in that there's also another end game mechanic where if you get 2 of the 3 of the treasure, the key, or the temple card, and you have them face up, then you automatically win. And I feel like if you teach both, or if you play the game, then your whole strategy should just be to try to get 2 of those 3 cards. I know if everyone's trying to do it, then it just becomes a round robin, everyone passing those cards around and try to steal those cards. But I just feel like that's the more simple solution of how to end the game rather than going to the end game showdown.
The instant win, like set collection, 2 of the 3 cards that are there. I kind of like that because, you obviously, if I have it, I want to like put it face down because it could get stolen if it's in my hand or get discarded, or if it's face down, someone could steal it. So you put it face down and it's like, okay, right now it's worth 1 point. And the whole time I'm either trying to figure out if anyone else did the same thing and trying to reveal their cards, or I'm just drawing until I get it. So it's like, yes, finally. And then you put that down, and then when you can go, boop, you win. But they have to be flipped over, right? Like they can't be face down.
Face up.
Yeah, you have to flip them both face up, so that's probably at least 1 or 2 more moves, depending on what cards you have. So one of the mechanics on the cards is the on reveal ability. I like that because if it's face down, you flip it over, it does its thing. If you want to use it again, all you have to do is flip it back over and then flip it over, and then you can use it again. I like when you can do that, especially if it's like a really good ability.
I do like the multi-use card concept where if it's face down, it's worth 1 point, and then if it's face up, it has an ability. There's 3 different abilities that the card could have, but if it's face up, then you have the option of what that ability is, whether it's on reveal or ongoing or on your turn kind of a thing. So I do like that concept of, oh, I'm going to play this in front of me face down, worth 1 point. Oh, I'm going to play it in front of me face up, ability. I like that. What did you not like about this game?
So much like how when we've played like Unstable Unicorns, it can be too take-thatty where like as soon as it looks like someone's about to win, then everyone, like it just gets drawn out longer and longer. Like everyone focuses on not letting them win. And then it just circles around like that. It kind of, sometimes it can draw the game out more because like, oh, you thought you were going to win, not anymore. And then like a whole cycle, and then it's someone else's turn where they're about to win, and da-da-da-da until finally, okay, good. Like I have 10 points. It's ending.
I'm going to reiterate what I talked about a little bit earlier. The thing that I dislike the most is the endgame showdown. I don't like that when it gets there, it's like almost a whole brand new game as far as, oh, now we're all trying to make everybody tied. When someone gets to 10, then just look around. Oh, everyone has the same scores or this or that. Or you can just make it more like other games of this genre. And I know then it's not a cool, unique mechanic, but then at least it's a little bit easier to understand where when someone gets to 10 points, then maybe there are end game contracts or end game points or different things where other players can score more points and you add up your points, that kind of a thing.
Overall, to touch on its finer points, I really like the artwork. It learns and plays quickly, but it just didn't really grab me. So I think I'll probably give it like a 3 or 4.
Overall, I really love the magical Western cowboy theme. I would like to see other games with that theme. I'd be interested in playing other games with different mechanics. I do like some of the elements like the multi-use cards. I don't really like the end game showdown thing. It is easy to learn and it is easy to teach. It could be a good intro game for maybe players who haven't played that many board games. So I don't want to say that it's not for anybody. There are definitely people out there that I think that this game is for. So overall, I'm going to give it a 5. And that was our review of Trickdraw.
What'd you think? You ready to bring some magical yeehaws to your game night? Let us know in the comments below.
Once again, we'd like to thank the publisher for sending us a copy so that we could do this review video. And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.